Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to So What with Sulky. I am Ellen March, and today we are going to be diving into Halloween. I've got a really great Halloween project for you today that comes together rather quickly and easily. And let's just say we're going to be working with some metallic thread. So I have lots of tips and tricks for you for working with some really cool special effects thread. So if you have any questions about that or any Sulky product, or just let us know what projects you're working on, and we can work through all of those solutions and problems together to make sure that we will have success at the sewing machine. Before we get started today, I want to make sure everyone knows that we have an awesome Halloween sale going on at Sulky right now. It's our Halloween boutique, and a lot of the things I'm talking about today are on sale. You don't need a coupon code or anything. You will just find them on sale at sulky.com. So, speaking of metallic thread, I had to go grab our table runner that I'm going to show you today. But speaking of metallic thread, you'll find lots of those on sale, up to 35% off on our threads that are perfect for Halloween, including glowy, neon, metallics, all those good things. Also, certain stabilizers are 35% off. We've got 20% off some really great Halloween supplies. And our Halloween kits are on sale for up to 50% off. So you can find some really great projects that are already kitted up for you, ready to start sewing. All right, so be sure to check that out. If you go to sulky.com, you'll see the banner I just showed you, and you can click on that Shop Now button, and it'll show you all of the great things that are on sale. Another thing I wanted to mention is, as a lot of you know, we are working with craft tours, and we have a really amazing trip to London coming up in November, and that trip is all sold out. But we do have some trips on the horizon for 2024. So as you are thinking about traveling, maybe you even would like a great trip for a holiday gift, or you want to go somewhere with your partner or your sibling or something like this. We have some really great Sulky trips with craft tours coming up in 2024. Starting with, we will be going to Kenya in February. That is going to be here before you know it. I know February 2024 seems so far away, but there is a lot of planning that goes on with that Kenya trip. And we want to make sure everybody has their passports and all that good stuff, and that everybody's prepared for it. So if you're interested in going to Kenya and going on safari and being with like-minded people who love to sew and craft and quilt and all those good things, our very own Jason Prater, president of Sulky, will be leading that tour as well. So you'll be in the company of Sulky greatness if you'd like to go on that Kenya tour. And you can find all of that at crafttours.com. And you can click on their sewing experiences, and you'll see all of our upcoming Sulky tours for next year. So Kenya will be in February 2024 with Jason Prater as your special guest from Sulky. And then in July, so about a year away, we will be going to Ireland, and I will be heading up that tour in Ireland in July of 2024. It's going to be amazing. We are going to go to the Cliffs of Moher and all of the quintessential Ireland destinations. I've heard it's just beautiful. I've never been, so we can experience all of that together. Also, we will be going to Bali in October of 2024. There is a Batik Expo. It'll be the second Batik Expo of its kind. And our tour gets to go to the Batik Expo as well. We will also be learning how to batik fabrics. There are so many things jam-packed into that Bali experience. We'll be going to an elephant sanctuary. It makes me cry just thinking about it. That will be October 2024. Now, I know all of these dates seem really far away, but if you're anything like me, you need lots and lots of planning. And plus, if you think about it now, you can get on a payment plan with craft tours where you can pay monthly. So it's much more manageable from a financial standpoint to start thinking about these tours now. Get it on the docket, get a payment plan that is manageable for your budget, and then you'll be able to join us, stress-free when the time comes. So all of these are available. There's also some 2025 dates up there already with craft tours. We will be doing Greece in 2025 as well as Hawaii. So some really exciting destinations for you to check out. They're not quite up on their website yet. They still say coming soon because all of the little details are still being worked on. But I want you guys thinking about these locations because I know with our London tour, there were a few people who got waitlisted because that tour did fill up. So if you think about it now, perhaps you can plan that for yourself in the future. All right. Yes. Kathy says there are so many amazing tours. There definitely are. Celeste says, if you haven't been to Ireland, please go. I'm Irish and have spent time in Ireland and the Republic. An amazing trip to get wool too. Yes, very good point. So exciting. Will there be quilt shop stops on the Ireland trip? Like I said, Millie, we are still working out all of the details that go on with the trip. I will say with all the craft tours that I have done, there's free time built into your days. So if you do some of your own research for the locations where we will be, a lot of the times we'll do some day trips on our own and we can kind of buddy up as well. And, when we're on our bus trip and all those things, getting to all of our places, we kind of just talk amongst ourselves to see what we're going to do on those free time or during those free hours. And a lot of the times things like that are involved. So we can kind of branch off and the people that want to go shopping can do so, etc. So lots of opportunities to do your own thing as well as be part of the group. And they're just fantastic experiences. I just can't say enough good things about these craft tours trips. I've taken my mom on a couple of them in the past, and she has just had the time of her life. Truly, truly bucket list items, and just seeing the sights, and again, meeting all kinds of people from all over the place who have the same thing in common, right? We all love sewing, quilting, fabric shops, all of those great things. And I've just met so many wonderful quality people on these craft tours, and we still have text chains that, go on periodically and we check in with each other, and it's just, a fabulous experience. So I highly suggest you check those out. And like I said, put them on your wish list for the upcoming holidays. Maybe you have a circuit of family members who never know what to get you for Christmas or, for your birthday or for the holiday season. And maybe they can go in together and help you toward your goal of going on one of these trips, because it really, really is life-changing. And I would much rather be gifted experiences than stuff at this point, unless it's fabric or thread or needles, because, we always need those things. All right. Sharon says she's going Batty, so I think she's ready for us to get started on today's tutorial. I also have a really great giveaway today for one lucky viewer who is watching, commenting, sharing out this live stream. That's all you have to do to be automatically eligible to win today's gift from Sulky. And we will choose one person at random who's doing all those things. First off, Leslie says, do husbands tend to go along? On these craft tours, I have had a few people bring their husbands. And quite honestly, I get this question a lot. Will the husbands be bored? Are there things for them to do? And they join right in. I always do a hands-on workshop on my craft tours where we get together on an afternoon or maybe a late morning after breakfast before we're going to go do an excursion. And we do a little project together. And, some people finish, some people don't. And then you can take that project on the bus and continue along with it, or you can just pack it up in your suitcase and do it when you get home. For London, I have a really cool project that we're going to be doing together that's going to be commemorative of our trip together. So that's kind of fun as well. Let's just say it's a London themed project, and I hope everybody enjoys it. But at any rate, even when I do these hands-on workshops, the husbands come along and they do some of the sewing as well. And they have a great time being included. So if you want to bring your husband, partner, sister, daughter, what have you, I highly suggest it. It's a great way to, experience that together and immerse them into, the whole experience. So, okay. Sorry, I went back to the craft tours trip here, but we will come back to our gift that we will be giving away today to one lucky viewer. It is a 6-pack of Sulky Holoshimmer Thread. Has everybody heard of Holoshimmer? Sulky has a number of metallic threads. We have original metallic, sliver metallic, Holoshimmer metallic, and poly sparkle. You've heard me talk about poly sparkle a lot because it's really easy to sew. It's a 30-weight polyester thread with flecks of metallic running through it. That is a round metallic thread, okay? Our original metallic is also a round thread. So those are a little bit easier to sew because the round thread goes through your machine when you're threading it and through the needle eye a lot easier because it's round, just like all of our other threads, rayon thread, polydeco thread, etc., right? It's a round fiber. Now, sliver and Holoshimmer are flat metallic threads. So they're ribbon-like, okay? So instead of being round, they have this flat structure to them. They're a little bit more difficult to sew because they're flat. And when they go through the machine, they like to twist and turn on their way to the needle, especially if they're not on our sewing spool pin properly. And I'm going to show you all of those differences and how to manage that twist so that we can sew with these really cool special effects threads. So I have my Holoshimmer right here that I used for today's project, and it has this holographic look to it. It's so neat. So our giveaway today is 6 spools of Sulky Holoshimmer Thread. This is our most used color assortment, and you can see it has some really great colors for Halloween projects. You've got that orange, the lime green, the silver, the gold, and then the multicolor. And the red you can keep on hand for your holiday projects coming up, or you can use it for things like bat eyes or little goblin eyes to make them really scary and have that red eye look. All right. So that's going to be today's giveaway for one lucky viewer. All you have to do is comment in the live chat or in the comments below. Give me those great emojis. Engage with me here today in the post, and you will be automatically eligible to win today's giftie. All right. So speaking of the Holoshimmer, that is also on sale today for our Halloween boutique sale. This sale ends midnight on the 28th. So get it while the getting's good because these are some really great sales happening at sulky.com. All right, Kathy says, can you use the metallic thread with an embroidery machine? you certainly can. And you just need to be sure to make a few adjustments on your sewing machine. And as I mentioned, I'll go over those today. I'm not going to be showing it today in an embroidery design, but the same modifications will apply. Okay? All right. Hey, Heather, I see you coming from Canada. Welcome. Good to see you today. All right. Twyla's ready. She says, show us using the beautiful thread. All right. Here we go. Oh, actually, sorry. One more piece of business to take care of before we get into today's project. And that is our Creative Rope Baskets embroidery sewing session is coming up at sewingonline.sulky.com. This is an on-demand sewing session that will be available for viewing on September 12th. This is totally guided by you. So you choose when you would like to watch the videos, which videos you'd like to watch, how often you would like to watch it. You can watch all the videos at once, or you can pick and choose the ones that you want to watch based on the rope basket that you want to create. I talked about that embroidery session. Sorry, I had to put my hair up because it's getting hot in here with all the lights. It's a hot day. It is hot around the country, so bear with me here. At any rate, I started talking about the rope basket session last week, and we have had an overwhelming response for it. So if you've made a rope basket in the past, I guarantee you're going to learn something new. We've got 11 videos within this embroidery sewing session. And there's all kinds of ways that you can take a basic rope basket and turn it into something totally designer. We've got different handle options using faux leather and really cool rivets. We've got labels you can make, personalized labels, different ways to embroider the rope basket. And yes, we're going to embroider right through the rope itself. We have partnered with Embroidery Library and Urban Threads. Love them so much. They're some of my favorite designs out there on the internet. We partnered with them to create an exclusive sewing-themed embroidery design for the rope baskets. And all you have to do is register, and you will receive the brand new design absolutely for free in 2 sizes. So you will get this beautiful Vibrant Notions wreath design for a 4x4 hoop for a small rope basket and for a 6x10 hoop for a large rope basket. You want to be sure to grab up our rope basket kit as well because it's on sale for only $39.99. And I guarantee you, if you try to piecemeal and grab up all these things separately, you'll be spending a lot more on your rope basket. In the kit, you will get 100 feet of rope. That is enough to make either one super large rope basket or a couple of smaller ones or a large size one and a small size one. You get the idea. So you could probably get a couple at least out of that 100 feet of rope. You will also get Sulky Ultra Solvy Stabilizer, which is what we're going to use to embroider the rope basket. You'll also get some faux leather so that you can create different handles or a personalized label, all kinds of things with that. You'll get the decorative rivets that you can use again for the handles or personalizing. You'll also get tons of Sulky thread. You'll get all the thread that you need for the rope basket design, that Vibrant Notions wreath, as well as the thread to construct your basket. There's also going to be videos on adding fabric to your rope basket in different ways. So there's just so much to talk about that I can't wait for you guys to experience this sewing session. And the videos are on demand for you to watch at any time. Once you've registered for it and all the videos drop on September 12th, you will have all access to the course for as long as you have an account at sewingonline.sulky.com. All right. How do you cover the backing on the bottom of the basket? Well, we cover that too in the session. There's a couple of different ways if you want to conceal the bobbin thread on the wrong side of your basket. We will show you how. And let's see, where are all my baskets? I've had them right next to me for so long that I may have moved my baskets. Well, at any rate, we're going to cover them with cork fabric. We've got a version using Sulky Felty, all kinds of things. Barbara wants to know, what does the rope basket session cost? It's $19.99. And again, you get these 2 embroidery designs from Urban Threads and Embroidery Library absolutely free with purchase of the session. And that's about an $11 value. So I think you'll really, really enjoy it. That is so awesome. Thank you so much. And yes, Kathy says the baskets will be perfect for Christmas gifts. You're absolutely right. I love it. Also, September coming up is National Sewing Month. So when this drops on September 12th, you can create a sewing theme basket to celebrate your love of sewing for National Sewing Month. Phew. All right. I think I covered all of the business, and now we can get to our Going Batty table runner here. Let me just make sure that I am ready to go. Okay, bear with me here. What is this that I've added? Oh, couple of things that will make your life easier when you're working with these flat metallic threads. And I know you guys are going to ask me about this throughout today, but I wanted to start off with our thread directors. This is a thread spool pin adapter. I'm going to be talking about using this to have the best experience possible when you're working with Holoshimmer or sliver threads. All right, so the thread director. This is the version that I have. It's the thread director 1, and that means it fits 1 spool of thread on it. Okay, I'm going to show you how this works as we get through our tutorial. I have the one that holds just 1 thread, which is this one here. We also have one that holds 2 threads. So if you're working on an embroidery design, or you want to do twin needle stitching, or you want to have another thread at the ready, grab up the thread director 2. That way you can have 1 spool on one side and 1 spool on the other. All right, so I'll be talking about it as we move along, but I wanted to start off by saying that is going to be your best friend when working with these flat special effects threads. All right, so here we go. This is our Going Batty table runner, and it looks super impressive because it has 44 3D bats on it. You can definitely change up the size of your table runner. Mine is fairly narrow. I like a narrow table runner for under my TV, where I have a little bit more of a narrow cabinet. So you don't always have to make a super long table runner. These types of things. You could even hang this on your door and have a really cool door hanger that's as long as you want it to go. So you could certainly change up the dimensions, but I made it this wide so I can put 2 bats along the runner. And then notice how they're only sewn in the center so that they have this kind of 3D flying bat effect to them. Now, I'm using this bat template with permission from Amaruni Designs, and I linked directly to her site in the description of today's post, so you can check out how she first used these bats, and it inspired me to use them in a different way for a table topper. So for this bat template that you'll need to grab that from her, Amaruni Designs. It's in the description of today's post. I linked directly to where to retrieve this little bat template so you can print it out and cut out all the bats that you need. Now, within her post, she also used a cutting machine So like if you have a Brother Scan and Cut or a Cricut machine, something like that, you can follow suit and you can have your machine cut out all the bats that you need lickety split. Now I don't have a cutting machine. I know if I had a like boo sound effect, I would play it now, but I don't. I only have light and happy sound effects. But at any rate, if you are lucky enough to have a cutting machine, you can cut all 44 of your bats using your cutting machine, and it'll be done in no time. I, however, had to print out my bat template and cut it out of Sulky Felty, and I cut 44 bats. And it actually wasn't as daunting as you might think. Sulky Felty comes in rolls. So I rolled out some Sulky Felty, pinned my bat templates in place, and I just started cutting. All right, so continue along until you have your 44 bats. Now, of course, if you want to make a smaller wall hanging, or you just want a couple of bats and you want to applique them to something else, perhaps a pillow or a smaller wall hanging or a cute little mug rug where you have a little 3D bat action on there, that is totally up to you. But the great thing about this Sulky Felty is it cuts like butter, and as you can see, it's nice and flexible, unlike, the traditional craft felt that you would find at your local store that comes in sheets. You would need a lot of those sheets to create this. But as you can see, I also stitched it onto the Sulky Felty. So I used the Sulky Felty roll as the background for my bats, and then I place these on top. So I still have some left of my roll as well. And the width of this table runner is the width of the Sulky Felty roll. So that's also another secret why I went with this more narrow size of table runner. But it does happen to fit my TV cabinet really well right underneath my TV. Looks really cute with some sparkly pumpkins on top. So there you have it. After you have cut out all 44 of your bats, you need to place them on your Sulky Felty backing. All right, so I have the backing cut to size. And then I placed basically 22 rows of 2 bats. And you can see I angled them a little bit, so there's a little bit of movement along the table runner. And then I made sure that the outer wings of the bat were extending a little bit beyond the edges of the Sulky background or Felty background fabric. I also wanted to mention I used these little applique pins to pin my bats in place. And I just pinned along the center of the bat because that's where I'm going to sew. And I'm going to leave the rest of the bat free, right? So these applique pins, we have them at sulky.com, and I had never used them before. They're really short. Let me see if I can show you a little bit better by showing you in person here. But see how small these applique pins are? It's really hard to see, but anyways, they're tiny little pins. And they have this nice, white portions. You can hold on to them really well, but they're so small that you don't really have to even take the pin out when you're doing the applique stitching. So you can sew your bats in place and then remove the pin. If they do get in the way of the stitching, obviously just, take them off when you get to each bat. But I love that they're so small, they don't interfere with any of the design. Sometimes if you're using larger pins, it can push the fabric up and out and away, those kinds of things. And you don't want to pin along your bat wings because you might need to move them as you work your way down the table runner. So I thought that these little applique pins actually were so perfect for this project. And, sometimes it's just a matter of having the right tool on hand for the job. And yes, they are pretty tiny, but that's the whole point behind them, is if you're doing these applique projects, they work really, really well. At any rate, notice how I have my bats angled, but then every 2 or 3 rows, I placed one bat perfectly parallel to the short ends of my background fabric, just to give it a little bit of movement and interest. So I decided to have most of them angled, and then every second row, just along the right side, I placed a bat straight across. So you can really have fun with how you want to place your bats. You can have a more, or less sort of methodical way of placing them, and just have fun with it. Once you have those in place how you want it, we've got to load up our Holoshimmer thread. Now with the Holoshimmer thread, I used 50 weight cotton thread in the bobbin. A little bit lighter weight thread, so that I would get a nice balanced stitch with the heavier metallic thread. So with the metallic thread, I'm going to use a 9014 metal needle, or metallic needle. Our organ needles, they're called metal needles, but you might see them as listed as metallic as well. You could also use a top stitch needle. The reason we're changing this needle is because a metallic or metal needle is specifically made so that there's less friction as the metallic thread moves through the needle eye. So it doesn't sort of heat up as some other needles can actually heat up when you are sewing at higher speeds with metallic thread. So as I mentioned, these same tips apply if you're going to be doing machine embroidery using these threads. So first we want to change our needle. Secondly, we want to lower our speed. So if you have a computerized machine, you want to go, I would say, at least half of the speed you normally sew at. If I'm doing machine embroidery, I would go all the way down as low as it can go. Let's see. Next, we want to put our thread director on our machine. This is how my thread director fits on my machine, and I sew on a Designer Epic 2, a Husqvarna Viking machine, and this is how it fits on my spool pin. Now, I have a vertical spool pin, but you can also move the spool pin so that it's horizontal. Let me see if I can show you behind me here. So notice how I have two spool pins on my machine. This is the vertical position. This is the horizontal position. I actually have something on here so it won't go all the way. But anyways, it goes toward the thread path horizontally. So you might be asking, why do I need to buy a horizontal spool pin? Well, this spool pin adapter fits like this and allows your thread to be horizontal so that the thread winds straight toward the needle path off of the spool pin. If I were using this in the horizontal position, it would be going toward the needle this way and still spinning and twisting and turning on its way to the needle. But since I can move this to face my thread path, now my thread is going to wind off and stay in that flat position without twisting and turning. So while I'm sewing, I don't get a lot of tension built up by all of those twists and turns, which is what causes your thread to break. All right, so I'm going to show you a little bit closer up this way. If I have my thread in the vertical position, it's going to wind off of the spool like this. Do you see all the twists and turns that's happening here? So over time and throughout my stitches, especially if I'm doing high-speed machine embroidery, it is going to twist and twist and twist and twist, and all of a sudden our thread doesn't look flat anymore when we're sewing with it. It looks crinkled and it feels rough, and it might snap and break on us because of all of that undue tension. So if same thing would happen is if we put our thread in the horizontal position, and now it's still winding off and twisting and turning. Do you see that? Curling up. But if we use our thread director and we put this on here with our spool pin, and it's on our machine like this, but going the right way, now it is winding off this way toward the needle, and look how flat it is. No twists, no turns. Our thread will lay nice and flat and ribbon-like. We'll get that hollow shimmer effect. And even if we're sewing at higher speeds with machine embroidery, even though it's going as low as it can go, it's not going to twist and snap and break. So that's another one of the modifications that I always do if I'm sewing with hollow shimmer or sliver threads. I'll even use it when I'm working with the original metallic thread, just because that has a different structure to it. And you can also get the twists and turns on the original metallic, even though it is a round thread structure. When I'm working with Poly Sparkle, I find that I don't need the thread director because Poly Sparkle is mostly polyester with just those flecks of metallic. So you don't have the same issues that you might have with these other metallic threads. But you certainly, I know people who use their thread director for all threads. They use it with rayon. They use it with any thread that they're going to use for machine embroidery, just because they want their thread to be nice and flat as it approaches the needle or approaches the thread path. So you can use it for all sewing, or you can set it aside and just use it for metallic thread sewing. It's up to you. So these are really, really great things to have. They're only $20, $30, depending on if you get the Thread Director 1 or the Thread Director 2. It's a great investment if you love working with these special effects threads, which are so, so great for Halloween. All right, so once we have our hollow shimmer thread all loaded and on the machine, let's see if I can get back to the right image here. That's not it. Bear with me a moment. Cutting them out. Here we go. There it is. All right, so our hollow shimmer is loaded. We got our new needle. We've slowed down our sewing machine. And now this is where we're going to sew on each bat. So we are just sewing a little triangle along the bat body. Its ears are going to be free and its wings are going to be free as well. So if you are not as confident at the sewing machine, you can certainly mark your triangle on every single one of your bats, or you can just go for it. And I will say for mine, I just went for it. I started at the little bat tail, worked my way up to the ears, and went around. That was the easiest for me to keep it accurate and have them look almost the same as I worked my way across the table runner. Now, you'll see I use this beautiful gold hollow shimmer thread. In hindsight, I may have used a black hollow shimmer thread just so that it blended in with the bat a little bit. Only because when you look at this from a distance, you can really see those glittery triangles, which is kind of the point, I realize. But it looks more triangle-y than it does batty, if you know what I mean. So you might want to experiment with some different hollow shimmer threads, or even going with a sliver thread that has more of a black or darker tone to it than the gold. I still love it, and I have these really great gold little pumpkins that look really great on it as well. And Sue is saying, how about glow in the dark thread? That would be perfect for this also. When you turn the lights off, it would glow in the dark and look really, really neat. All right, so we're going to add our applique stitching with our specialty thread to each one of the bats. And now we need to add our backing fabric. I chose a glittery metallic print. These are little candy corns, and they have a little bit of metallic gold in them. So they really tied in with that Holoshimmer thread on the front of the table runner. And a lot of times in the Halloween fabric section, you'll find these glittery metallic fabric prints, and they're so fun. I did find a bat one, but there wasn't enough for me to use it. So I went with this cute little candy corn. But we need to make sure that our felt bat wings and little ears are out of the way of our stitching path. So before we add our backing fabric, I took some Sulky clear embroidery tape and I just taped my wings out of the way. And, you know, this tape is reusable and all kinds of things. So I did use some that I had left over from some embroidery projects. And then I also needed a couple of pieces of tape here and there. But you could certainly use some pins as well and just pin your bat wings out of the way of your stitching. All right, so once we've done that, we're going to put our backing fabric right side down over the top of our Batty table runner top. And then you can pin or wonder clip your edges. You also want to make sure that you leave yourself an opening for turning. So I am notorious for just getting in the groove of things and sewing everything shut. And then I have no way of opening up my table runner, and I have to grab the seam ripper and open up, you know, a little spot. So I've gotten into the habit of marking my opening for turning. You can use a little bit of chalk and just mark a line for your opening, or you can use double pins on either side of your opening or double clips if you like to use wonder clips, that type of thing. Just give yourself a visual clue so you make sure to leave that opening there. And I always start sewing the perimeter at one of the opening ends and then make my way around. And that way, when I get to the other spot, I'll notice my marking or what have you. And hopefully I will leave my opening alone. All right, so once we have marked that, you can go ahead and sew the perimeter. I just used a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then you want to clip your corners so that when you turn this right side out, you have a nice crisp corner on all 4 corners. So you want to just clip up to, but of course not touching that stitching line. And you can also kind of clip your seam allowances at a little bit of an angle going up to the corner point, and that really helps reduce that bulk as well, because remember, we're working with Felty here for our background fabric, and it is a little bit bulkier than your traditional quilting cotton that we're using on the back. So once we've done that, we're going to turn our table runner right side out through the opening. Use a little point turner or a blunt chopstick to poke out those corners. And then you can actually give it a little bit of a press. Sulky Felty is made out of polyester. So you can wash it, you can press it, all these things. So I press it on a low to medium temp heat just along the seams that I just sewed, making sure that my bat wings are still out of the way. Turn your opening seam allowance into the wrong side and just clip it shut so it's nice and flat. And pressing is going to help that as well. So once you've done that, you can top stitch the entire perimeter. See how you've got to still keep those little bat wings out of the way of the stitching. And don't worry if they start looking kind of funky, because you can always give it a little bit of press. You can even use a little bit of steam. So once we've top stitched, which is going to close our opening as well, then we can remove our tape or pins or whatever we've used to keep those bat wings out of the way and flatten them out. You can, finger press it a little bit. You can give it a little bit of steam if you need to for, if any of those bat wings got a little funky. And then you're done. I mean, that's how simple it is and how quickly it goes together. And you can see it on my little TV cabinet, which I have underneath my TV with my gold flecked pumpkins. And it's just so cute and a great little addition to your Halloween decor. It's a little bit subtle, but you can see all of those bats and all the great 3D dimension that you get because their wings are kind of popping off and poking out of the top there. All right. Mary says, can you wash the Felty? Yes, you can. You definitely can. Barb says, I think I would make the runner first and then add the bats and use the triangles for quilting. Great idea as well. I didn't add any batting to this. You certainly could add a layer of batting if you wanted it a little bit loftier, but I found that the Felty gave it, a really nice weight, and I didn't need to add any batting for the way that I did it, but you certainly could as well. All right. Let's see. Marianne already has a thread director. That's great. You might need to stock up on some Holoshimmer thread since we're having that mega sale today. Linda uses safety pins to mark the opening. That's a really great way to differentiate from the other pins you might use. Sometimes, even if you've double pinned, it's hard to remember that opening, but using safety pins is a great way. All right. Sharon says, no batting for the bats. Love it, Sharon. All right. So I have a bonus project for you all today as well. That's right. Bonus project. It seems more and more we are playing with or celebrating these, national blah, blah, blah days, right? There's a national celebratory day for so many different things. There's like a national dog walking day. There's a national pancake day, right? Well, did you all know that today is National Tooth Fairy Day? I know. National Tooth Fairy Day. I love it. So I have a couple of girls who still have a few teeth to lose. I think my son is done with all that. It does seem about, third grade or so. It's just every single day they're losing a tooth. It is crazy. But at any rate, I thought we would get into the spirit of National Tooth Fairy Day and make a super simple tooth fairy pillow. This is really cute, sews up really, really quickly. And I mean, even though my girls are at the end of losing their teeth and starting to lose molars and things like that, they still thought this was absolutely adorable. And now I have to make a second one so that they both have one. And they can hang it on the door at the, as they go to sleep, put their tooth inside. And then hopefully, if the tooth fairy remembers, she will replace that tooth with a little bit of coin, maybe even a $5 bill if it was a real tough tooth to lose. Am I right? So this pillow also features Sulky Felty. Our little tooth-shaped pocket is made out of white Felty. We've got little button eyes, a little bit of hand embroidery for the little smile, and then a simple, small pillow that you can add a little hanging loop to and put it on your doorknob at night. So adorable. So dive into your button stash, find 2 buttons that are alike or not alike. You can really give this little tooth his own personality. You can also give him a frown instead of a smile if you so desire. So first off, we're going to draw a little tooth. And I really just freehanded this. You want to make sure your tooth fits in about a 3-inch square. Pretty easy to just kind of sketch this out on a piece of scrap stabilizer or obviously just a piece of paper. You can also look for clip art if you want to kind of outline a tooth that's going to work within that 3-inch square. And just sketch out your tooth, and you're going to cut one tooth out of your Sulky Felty. Oops, this one's upside down. So now we need to transfer our little face or our little smile. You could also hand embroider the eyes if you didn't want to use buttons, but I'm always looking for opportunities to use my button stash. I've inherited so many buttons from other people as well. It's just so fun to kind of, pick the eye color, pick the button style, that type of thing. So go ahead and grab some buttons for the eyes and then just transfer a little smile or any kind of expression that you want. You could even add some buttons for some little cheeks or those kinds of things. So really have fun with it. This is more of a crafty, fun little project. And once you have transferred whatever you're going to hand embroider onto your Felty tooth, then you can get to stitching. Oh, this one's upside down as well. So you can see I transferred my little smile using just a removable fabric marker. And this is a friction pen that I use to transfer, and it's removable from the heat of an iron. So as I mentioned, Felty can be ironed, and you can apply a little bit of heat to it without damaging it, which is really great. So after the embroidery is complete, and I just did a quick back stitch using Sulky 12 weight cotton petites thread. I used 2 strands of thread and just back stitched along the smile. And when I was all done, I just knotted it at both ends on either side, on the wrong side of the Felty on either side of my stitching line. And then I just put my hot iron over the top, and all of my markings disappeared. So after that is done, you can place your little eye buttons onto your Felty pocket piece. And I just used a coordinating thread spool of 12 weight cotton petites thread just to sew my buttons on real quickly, tied them off on the back side, and my little tooth pocket all of a sudden had lots of personality. And now it's just a matter of sewing our Felty tooth pocket in place. So we've got 2 fabric squares. One is the front side for our pillow, of course, and one is the back side. I just found a cute print in my stash of some little clouds with stars in rainbow print, and I thought that was just perfect for a dreamy little tooth fairy pillow. So I started along the upper edge corner of one side of the pillow, one side of the tooth, and then just top stitched all the way around. And you want to leave yourself about a 2.5 inch opening along the top, just so you can, get a tooth in there, easily be able to get it out, puts a little bit of cash in there. It fits all kinds of cute little things if you have about a 2.5 inch opening. All right, and then just back stitch a little bit at the beginning and end of your stitching so that as you're using the pocket, your stitches won't pop out. Once you have your pocket in place, we need to place our little hanger. So I used a piece of white cotton cording that I had on hand. It's about an 8 inch length. This I found was just perfect for going around a door handle. So that's why I went with 8 inches. So depending on how you hang it, how you use it, you don't even need a hanger perhaps. If you want to use it as a little shelf sitter or something like that instead, you can omit the little hanging loop. You could use ribbon here, so many different options. So I kind of looped my cording so that the upper ends of the cording were a little bit angled. And that way it almost looks like a circle, as you're putting it on the doorknob. So I just angled the ends slightly, excuse me, and clipped them in place with a couple of wonder clips. And then I just basted the ends in place so that they wouldn't shift while I was sewing the rest of the pillow. All right. After basting the ends, we're just going to put our backing fabric right side down over the top of our other piece of fabric that has our tooth on there, and of course our cording attached. So if you're using a directional print here, just note, make sure that it's facing the right direction when you put your backing fabric on. I can't tell you how many times I do that as well. So I just clipped this in place in a couple of places because I think it's 5 inches or 4.5 inches square, something like this. So you don't really need a lot of pins or a lot of clips. You can simply just hold it while you're sewing as well. That's how easy it is. And then we're just going to sew the perimeter. Now, just like when we sewed the perimeter of our table runner, we need an opening for turning. So I just made my opening at the lower edge. This image is on its side, so the opening is toward the left, but you want your opening on the lower edge. You want to be sure to sew those corners though. So leave your opening kind of centered along the lower edge center, and you want to still sew those corners. Then I clip the lower edge corners. You can clip the upper edge ones as well. And then just along the opening, I trimmed my seam allowance a little bit. So, well, actually, I left my opening seam allowance, pardon me, and then I trimmed the seam allowance just on either end of the opening up to the corner point. And since this is a narrow seam allowance, a really small project, this just helps you turn that opening to the wrong side when you leave that seam allowance a little bit longer than the seam allowance beyond it. Does that make sense? So it allows you to get that a little bit more crisp, a little bit nicer, especially after you stuff it. So then we're going to turn this puppy right side out. You can see my opening edge is still raw. I've got my pocket in place. Just, poke out your corners, pull your little hanger away from the stitching. You can give it a little bit of a press if you want, or you can just finger press. And then we're going to stuff it. So just grab some fiber fill and stuff your pillow until it's as plump as you would like it. I will say I stuffed and stuffed and stuffed and made it super plushy. And then I actually had to take some out because I wasn't able to use the pocket as much as I, wanted to. But you can always take some out and adjust it. It doesn't have to be super plush because, we're not using it to sleep on or something like this. We're just giving it a little bit of dimension and fun. So once you have it all stuffed, then you're simply going to do a little bit of hand sewing to close the opening. So you can do a ladder stitch, a slip stitch, a whip stitch, some kind of invisible stitch to just hand sew that opening shut. And then you're all done and you can hang it on a doorknob or wherever you desire. And it's ready for accepting teeth and gifting a little bit of cash. So really, really simple, comes together so quickly. You can even get the little ones involved, have them pick out the eyes, have them, draw the little face on the tooth, and then you can hand sew it together. And it's a really great starter project, a way to get kids into loving sewing. And then they get to keep this cute little thing when it is complete. So for National Tooth Fairy Day, I just thought that was fitting that we could make something really quick and easy in celebration of that. And quite honestly, I was really surprised at how much my girls just loved it. And, they're 9. So it's not lost on anyone, the love of the Tooth Fairy, let's just say. Yes, and Sylvia says, great way to teach them to sew a button. Absolutely. All right. Sharon says, really cute. My kiddos put their teeth under their bed pillow, so I would just make the tooth. That's cute as well. Love that idea. All right. I'm just going to address some other questions if we have them. Another great use for rope. Exactly. If you have those little, if you have those little odds and ends of, ribbons and things like that you don't want to throw away because they're so beautiful or they're so useful, this is a great way to repurpose those items where maybe you have, even a 6-inch, piece would probably work to go around a little doorknob. Sylvia says, place a small toothbrush inside. Great idea. Love it. All right. So I think I'm caught up on any questions. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you do have questions that we didn't address today during So What, be sure to email us at info@sulky.com. Now, I do want to give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek of what we are doing next week on So What, because you might want to set your notifications. Be sure to like us on Facebook. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you watch there, because if you do so, you will get notifications of when we're going live and you will remember what we're doing next week. So next week, I'm going to be doing more of a lengthier tutorial. It's going to be more like one of our free webcasts that we do over at sewingonline.sulky.com, because we are launching a really great In the Hoop Sulky project for Halloween. And we're going to have special deals that day. We're going to have really cool door prizes that day for you all to win. And I'm really excited about this one too. And I think you will be as well. So next week, we are going to be presenting our which is in and which is out in the hoop door hanger project. I will be taking you through this project from start to finish on So What next Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern time. So I'm going to be showing you how this comes together in the hoop of your embroidery machine. And as I mentioned, we are going to have supplies for you to make this project. We're going to have special deals. We're going to have a flash sale during So What. And not only is it the which is in, but this guy is reversible. So when you leave the house, the which is out, right? I love it. And yes, the whole thing is made in the hoop of your embroidery machine. So, double-sided, reversible, in the hoop project. I'll show you how it all comes together next Tuesday on So What. And another fun thread to use, we will be embroidering with Sulky Holoshimmer Thread. Do you see how fuzzy and furry our spider is on both sides? We are going to embroider this spider using 12-weight Sulky Holoshimmer thread, and then we're going to brush it up to make it have this faux fur effect, so it really pops off of the surface and gives it a really, really fun detail. So I'm going to show you how all of this comes together. Don't miss it. Next week's So What, 12 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to be right here working our way through this really fun, adorable project. So you'll be all ready for Halloween. You can have a few projects under your belt before September even arrives, and you'll be ready to go. All right, Fran is looking forward to that session. Very cute. The threads are nice. Excellent. Flo has not used the Holoshimmer thread yet. It's also, some of the Holoshimmer thread is part of our Halloween boutique sale. So be sure once we end here today, head on over to sulky.com, check out all of the great Halloween thread on sale, stabilizers, Halloween supplies, and Halloween kits. All you have to do is go to sulky.com and you'll find all of these great deals. And you can find some really fun thread that you can incorporate into your upcoming Halloween projects. So thanks for joining me today. I hope you learned something new. I really appreciate all of you watching and tuning in. And be sure to join us next week on Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern for the which is in and the which is out. All right. I will see you all then. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.